then that's when the Red Skull's like, he's not crying, he's crying for you. And then you kind of are led to believe that Thanos loves Gamora as his like true daughter, basically. That's the only thing that he really loves. And that's when she starts freaking out. She's like, no, you don't love me. All the things you've done, you don't really love me. And he's like, everything has been for you, basically, leading up to this. And then he even says like, oh, I'm sorry, little one. That's what his like nickname was to her when she was a little girl. And then he tosses her off the cliff, and then she dies. And then he gets the Soul Stone. And then we cut back to Wakanda. There's so much in this, man. 2 hours and 45 minutes worth. So the Avengers are basically all in Wakanda, and they're trying to fight off these hordes of alien creature monster things. And so that's happening there, and they're fighting, and then Thor shows up because he gets the Stormbreaker, and he has the ability to open the Bifrost now at will, so he can travel through worlds and time or whatever. And he gets there, and he basically starts kicking ass. And you definitely get to see the power of Thor, because I feel like he's one of the kind of an underrated hero up until this point, where you get to see like how like powerful he is. And then it cuts back to the Guardians on Titan, and Thanos shows back up with because I think he's meeting Ebony Maw, and that's when they have this elaborate plan to kind of use Mantis to put Thanos to sleep, basically. Puts him to sleep. They're all kind of holding each part of his body, and Mantis is on top of him while she's holding his head, and she's basically making him go to sleep. And she told him, "Oh, hurry up! He's very strong." And then Spider-Man and Iron Man are basically just about to get the gauntlet off, and then Star-Lord comes over and he's like, "Oh yeah, douchebag, I got you now." And then he's like, "Oh yeah, for the record, this was my plan." And he's kind of like, "Well, where's Gamora? And then that's when Mantis is like, "Oh, he's mourning." And he's like, "Oh, what does this guy have to mourn?" And then you hear him say Gamora, and he's like, "What'd you do to Gamora?" And then that's when Nebula, who's there, who is her sister, she says they went to Vormir to get the Soul Stone, and he killed her for the Soul Stone. And then Peter freaks out, and he's like, "No, you didn't do that. You didn't do that. No, you didn't." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "My Gamora." And they're just about to get the Infinity Gauntlet off of Thanos, and Star-Lord wakes him up, basically.
Yeah, he starts shooting at him or something.
He starts punching him in the face, and then it makes Mantis lose her grip on his head, and then she kind of falls off, and then he wakes up, and then he, like, it's literally like a fingertip away from getting off of his hand, and he grabs the gauntlet and then basically beats all of them, and beats the crap out of Tony, and he kind of says like, "Oh, Tony, I admire you. Like you're." He says that line in the trailer. "I hope they remember you." And he's about to kill him, and then Doctor Strange is like, "Oh no, here, take the stone."
Like he stabs him.
Yeah. Because he stabs Tony.
He stabs Tony, and he was about to finish the job.
Yeah.
But he was saying like, you're strong, like you're a good adversary.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then, Doctor Strange jumps in, and he doesn't want to see Tony meet his end, so he's like, here, take it.
Yeah.
And Stark gets really mad, and he's like, why would you do...
It's like, you promised, we're not supposed to give him to him.
You've just ended the world, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, they still have one more left, which is the stone on Vision's head. And then, so he gets that. Strange gives him the stone, and he basically takes off, and he's headed to Wakanda to get the last one. And the Avengers are pretty much beating everybody, and Thanos shows up at the end, and he starts walking towards the Vision, and everyone, one by one, is kind of going to either attack or slow down Thanos in an attempt to attack him, and everyone's kind of getting just thrown to the side.
Wrecked.
Basically, yeah. And they know that the Scarlet Witch has the power to kind of destroy the stone, because her powers were given to her by the stone. And so Thanos is about to get to them, and she actually kills Vision. And he says, like, you can't hurt me, don't worry, like, this is what I want. And she does that and kills him. And then Thanos goes up to her and says, I've lost so much more than you could know. He's like, we don't have any time. He's like, in fact, there's no time at all. And then you see him kind of
he runs back time.
Yeah, he runs back time
to before she killed him.
Yeah, and then she just grabs he grabs Vision and then kind of just plucks it out of his forehead, and it was vicious the way he did it. And he gets the last stone, and then you see him kind of get all like juiced up. Basically, you see all like these colors running through him, and out of nowhere comes the axe straight into his chest, and then Thor comes flying down. He's like, I told you I'd get you. You would pay for what you did. And then Thanos is kind of out of breath, and he's like, and he's like
you really think that they did it?
Yeah, and he's like, you should have aimed for my head. And then he snaps his fingers, and then that's the snap heard around the world.
Hey.
And then you see everybody fade away. Basically, everyone starts turning to ash, and it's pretty. At that point, it's pretty depressing.
Well, it's 50. So, like you said, his thing was balance.
Yeah.
So 50% of the Avengers team disappeared.
Yeah, correct. And it's supposed to be all at random. That's what Thanos' whole thing is too. It's not really selecting people. It's just at random. It's basically fate. So if randomly he went on to say like kind of like rich, poor, powerful, and weak. He's like, doesn't matter who you are. If you're chosen, then you're chosen, basically. And everyone. So the Avengers that go. Everyone in the Guardians except for Rocket, Black Panther, Bucky, Falcon, and then the saddest one of all is Peter Parker.
Oh yeah,
that one was really was a rough one.
He's like, I'm scared.
He's like, Mr. Stark, something's happening. He's like, I don't want to go. He's like, I'm scared. I don't want to go. And I was like, man, it's pulling on the heartstrings. And he kind of just falls to the ground. And an interesting thing that I read, and I read it from a couple of sources, saying that the reason it took so long for Peter to kind of fade away or turn into dust was because of his healing factor and his spider sense, because he could sense it before it was happening. So if anyone was wondering, that's why it happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. After the credits, you get Samuel L. Jackson back as
Nick Fury.
Nick Fury, and his like right hand. I can't remember her name. She was on How I Met Your Mother.
That's his sidekick.
Yeah, she's like his basically, and it cuts back to them on Earth, and they're driving around, and then you see this car kind of crash in front of them, and they get out, and he's like, "Oh, go check to see." They go check to see if they're okay, and then she opens the door, and no one's in there, and then she's like, "Nick," and then he turns around and he sees her start to fade away. He's like, "Oh, no, no, no." And he runs to the back of his SUV, and he grabs this pager of all things, and he fucking starts pressing the buttons. Fucking 1990.
Well, you don't know why that is?
Captain Marvel takes place in 1990.
Yeah, she's
fucking 6 or something.
She was something happens in the comic books where she's kind of banished.
Yeah.
Right, and she's sent to live in another time or something like that, and that's why they have this pager.
That's the only means of contact.
For her to come, and he's like, we need you or whatever. So for anybody,
so he pages her basically, and then you see him messing with it, and then right before he disappears, he's like, and then he fades away. Classic Sam Jack.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, motherfucking snakes. But yeah, he fades off too. And the pager drops, and you get the little logo of Captain Marvel. And so that
she's gonna be the next big. She's gonna save the world.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Only time will tell.
Brie Larson, feminist, coming at you.
Oh yeah,
Thanos, Josh Brolin, motherfucker. Let's talk about Josh Brolin, man, killing it.
This dude is everywhere.
This summer, he had. Not only does he have this movie, he had Deadpool, where he's Cable, and Sicario 2.
Yeah,
Day of the Soldado.
Yeah, he was. His schedule was pretty packed this year.
He's like set for life just on those 3 movies.
Yeah, because how fucking that movie, and I mean, Infinity Wars alone made fucking $1 billion, $2 billion, whatever the fuck it made.
Of course.
But yeah, those movies always make a butt ton of money.
Because they have universal appeal.
Yeah.
Kind of like Transformers. Overseas loves that shit. You know what I mean? So not only do they make every single person who will come, whether they're comic book fans or not, people in the U.S. go see it, and then everywhere else go see it. So you have like this snowballing effect,
Yeah.
where they're just curious, or word of mouth, especially for something like this. To be like how kind of dark it was.
Yeah, especially towards the end.
Of course, the people that read the comics, they kind of knew, were familiar with that ending or what happens. But we didn't know they were going to end the first movie like that.
Yeah.
That's a ballsy thing. That kind of reminds me of, not that it's on this caliber, but Dark Knight. How there's no real sense of hope through that entire movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all kind of and parents tend to lash out at studios for that kind of thing, where they're like, well, what about my kids?
Yeah.
What about my kids?
It's just a superhero movie, man.
Yeah.
People dying? What?
Or DC, that's the thing that like BVS. People hated BVS.
Like, Batman's murdering people. What the fuck? Batman never kills anyone. It's like, motherfucker, this guy's at the end of his career and doesn't give a fuck anymore. Robin's dead. The kid he was supposed to protect. Like,
I didn't have a problem with that aspect of it.
I didn't either. I was like, fuck yeah, this is brutal.
For BVS, for me, the one thing that I thought was bad is they tried to cram too much.
It was a lot.
Doomsday should have been its own thing, and they killed him way too. How you kill a character in one movie?
Yeah.
Like a mainstay character, this big, like
monster. It should have been for me. That should have been a Superman villain movie, and Superman should have ended like that.
Yeah.
It should have been more.
Doomsday is its own thing.
It's a real. It actually is a real movie.
Yeah.
It's the movie where Superman dies, but this is more like that one was more like cramming two movies together to get.
So it's super long and convoluted.
Yeah.
Because people who that's the thing is that Zach and everybody, they just assumed that everybody knows everything about these characters and universes. So